So the season's over, unfortunately, but that's how the world works in the world of college football. However, if you're a premier brand like the University of Florida, the season being over after year two is not what you would expect. Um, I personally don't care about things like back-to-back losing seasons since whenever, because it's kind of irrelevant in my opinion. But unfortunately, that's where we are. And yes, you can compare us to the other teams, such as Auburn now going bowling after not going bowling last year, or I think Arizona having like a 9-win season, or even Louisville having a 10-win season. Wild, insane, I know. But here we are at the end of the year with no bowling and no practices. With the biggest thing I notice, not only in this team but in years past, of having a disciplined team, whether it's shoe throwing, spitting, as we saw in the Florida State game, or just stupid penalties that are honestly the bane of this team's existence even since Urban Meyer. But Urban Meyer's team was so offensively powered and so well recruited that it really didn't matter. You could probably have like 5 back-to-back penalties and they'd still win the game. Anyway, I put together a list of people that they could probably recruit and do a much better job with. As a defensive coordinator, I don't think that we have a good one. Even though I don't understand how a team loses to Arkansas. I don't understand how a team loses to Missouri, who plays them that close. And I also don't understand how a team can present to us the Florida State product that we saw. Of course, that was more of an offensive thing more than a defensive thing. However, I would just like to see a change in these 4 positions that I have listed down here. So for defensive coordinator, the names that I have are Jim Leonhard, Phil Parker, Tony Gibson, who coaches at NC State, DJ Durkin, who formerly coached at Florida as the defensive coordinator, Kevin Steele, who now coaches at Miami, and Will Muschamp, who was the head coach at Florida. Now, I don't see Will Muschamp happening, and I don't see Phil Parker happening, because Phil Parker would probably be very expensive, and Will Muschamp, I don't know how well he gets along with the head brass at UF. There's a reading that I read on Reddit, I know how accurate that is, of someone who formerly worked close with the AAU or AUU, whatever it's called. And basically the gist of the reading was the AAU can't get out of its own way and screws itself when it hires coaches. So I don't know how well that's, and it also doesn't back coaches up apparently. So I don't know how true that is. I'm just gonna kind of take it as true or just generally true. Just from the product that I've seen on the field over the past God knows how many years, and the quick hirings and firings of coaches. But yeah, those were the 6 names that I have listed for defensive coordinator. Jim Leonhard, obviously very good coordinator at Wisconsin, no longer works there, however. He's had a top defense, I think, for at least 2017 and 18, or maybe it was 16 and 17 when he coached for the Badgers. He could obviously recruit. And Will Muschamp has like all the makings of a great defensive recruiter, but also just coach in the locker room as a whole. Him being a former head coach, being an elite recruiter. He currently is an analyst at Georgia, I believe. He was the head coach at Texas when they went to the national title game. Of course, they lost, but still a really good coach. Kevin Steele apparently is an elite recruiter. I know nothing about him personally. DJ Durkin, obviously working at University of Florida before, coaching. Did a pretty good job, I believe. I think during the 15-16 season, I don't know if he was actually the defensive coordinator then, but they had like the Cord UF 2015. Oh, Jeff Collins. Okay. So Jeff Collins was the defensive coordinator for the 2015 season. 2014 season? 2014, it was DJ Durkin. One of those 2 years, they had like the best defense in the Southeastern Conference. So, yeah, they need to figure that out. Oh, you can add Jeff Collins to the list, too. But you need someone who can recruit, instill discipline, and coach. That's all you need for that defensive coordinator position. Offensive coordinator position, I have Josh Gaddis, Kendall Briles, and Steve Spurrier, because apparently he's the offensive coordinator at Tulsa now. Don't know why he's not one here, but I don't really know. I don't really have a personal reason for adding Josh Gaddis. I just know he worked for Michigan. He was able to recruit pretty well. I don't think his schemes worked overly well for Michigan while he coached there. Kendall Briles, because the TCU Horned Frogs play in the ever so shootout-esque Big 12, and I think that sort of offense, I'm not saying that would overly work in Gainesville, but I think it would help a lot, considering how we just saw a coach went from playing a little bit less than scared to just playing completely scared in the second half of the Florida State game, a game they definitely should have won. And I put down Steve Spurrier just because of the familiarity of Steve being in Gainesville and the backing he would have. I don't know how many years he has left coaching. I don't know if he even wants to coach for this team. I feel like there's an underlying no for that, as I don't know if he's ever been offered to coach at any point in time for this team, but I feel like that's kind of telling that he says, I'll go do it for Tulsa and not for UF. And I know UF already has one, but still, I just don't understand why that's not top of the list. Anyway, special teams coordinator, because apparently we don't have a special teams coach. Even though it says right here that we do, and Chris Couch. Either way, I put down Kevin Smith from Old Dominion University. I got that from the same list I got Chris Couch from. He's literally 2 spots ahead of this fantastical list from Big Boomer Twitter account. So, I don't know. Yeah. I kind of only got him because I hoped you could recruit. Anyway, the last position that I think needs significant need and upgrade in coaching is the offensive line. So, the offensive line coordinators that I have listed down are Geep Wade from Georgia Tech, Jack Bickle Jr. from Wisconsin, and George Barnett from Iowa. The 2 Big Ten teams, because they can, I think we need bigger bodies in the trenches to handle the oncoming onslaughts of Texas and Oklahoma, along with Alabama and everybody else we're going to play. So I'd like to see some recruitment from that area of the United States, because those players are huge and they are pretty good at what they do. I chose Georgia Tech's Jeep Wade. I don't fucking know, man. I don't name these people. Out of no real reason. I think I got that from like the list of best. Let's see. There's a website called Football Scoop. I'm pretty sure I got that. These coaches from. But yeah, I think those 3, at least the bottom 2 being Jack and George, being probably the best offensive line coordinators that I think we could get to help with our team, with obviously hoping that they can recruit high-level talent to come down to Florida, which I honestly don't think would be that big of a deal or a problem, because a lot of Midwesterners vacation in Florida anyway, so why not grab a coach who already coaches in that area, who can probably bring down and convince other players from those areas to come down and play for the team, but that's just me. Anyway, that's my list. That's all I got. I have nothing else to add to this. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Other than that, I've been me, and I'll leave you to whatever you're doing.